Welcome to the 13th BTL Exclusive, the NBA Draft Recap and MLB State of the Union. As always, joined by your two guys, Krabs and Javon. Javon, we're almost at the All-Star game for the MLB season. It's been a hell of a ride. My Nats showing some serious heart. Your Rays now starting to show some life. We just had the NBA Draft finish up. We've got a lot to talk about, my man. What do you want to go into first?
We can touch on the NBA Draft a little bit. That was,
Sure.
I don't know, one of the least exciting drafts with names in a while, but we pay attention to college basketball a lot. There's a lot of our guys that are going to get some run and got picked some pretty good spots. So down to talk about that for a bit.
Let's hop into it. All right. I think the first thing we need to go over is probably this Kyle Filipowski situation. Have you heard about this?
Oh, yeah. Probably a little more than I'm able to comprehend. That whole situation is so weird.
Turns out he's dating his old babysitter. Crazy.
Yeah, that's insane.
Is that allowed? Is that allowed?
I don't know. We're seeing pictures of her at prom when she was like 24 or whatever it is. So that's probably not allowed.
I don't know. I haven't crunched the numbers. I'm not going to crunch the numbers. Not my job. But apparently the guy is pulling an Aaron Rodgers. He hasn't talked to his family in a couple of years now. This chick is like, brainwashing him and, making him not talk to his family. I don't know. I mean, I'm just seeing tweets from the family on the feed. The whole situation's pretty weird. And then we see him obviously fall down the draft board, Javon. Number one, were you surprised to see him fall? And number two, do you think it had anything to do with, this off the court stuff? And also apparently in his interviews, he was like the weirdest, quietest guy ever.
Yeah, I definitely could see that. Teams have been very particular about, how the interviews go. And there's been plenty of guys in the NBA that have fell down recently for that reason. So I wouldn't be shocked. I was a little surprised to see him fall, obviously, before all of that came out. So I thought there were a couple teams at the end of the first round that could have used like that big stretch four that can shoot type guy. So, yeah, I was a little surprised to not hear his name called, but now just maybe it makes a little bit of sense.
Yeah. And he went to the team in Utah, which I feel like is the perfect scenario, I guess, from all the stuff we're hearing about this whole situation, right?
Well, the girl's Mormon, right?
Yeah. I don't know, man. The whole thing is off. Look, I thought he was a typical Duke kid. He had some anger issues on the court, was, throwing some sneak elbows around. This might be a different case. Okay. And that's probably why he fell out of the first round. I mean, they were talking about this guy halfway through the season like he was going to be a top 15 pick. You don't even go in the first round of the worst draft of all time. Not a good look for Filipowski. I'm out on him. I don't think he's going to be great. I think the teams are probably thinking there's something off with this kid if he's falling out of the first round. In this draft, are you kidding me? W for Duke haters out there, because I know there's a lot of them listening. Okay, W's for you all. And if you are listening, wherever you are, please drop a like. Okay, drop a review if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Music, wherever you get your podcasts. There's going to be more of these throughout the summer. All right, and then we're pretty close to football as well, Javon. So it's right around the corner. We're going to be doing plenty of podcasts centered around, fantasy, DFS, and along with just, talking football, talking bets. I'm stoked for it.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's keep talking drafts because Filipowski was not the only guy who dropped out of the first rounds or dropped a ton. Dalton Knecht, he didn't drop out of the first round, Javon, but man, he fell way further than I thought. That's for sure. I had him going 6th overall at plus 150 to the Hornets. That didn't work. He didn't even go in the top 10. I think he went 17th overall. What's going on with Dalton Knecht falling out of the top 15 picks here? And was it rigged for the Lakers to get not only him, but Bronny James?
Yeah, it could have been rigged. But, I was surprised too. I didn't know if he was going to go to the Hornets. I thought he could have gone to the Blazers, or maybe the Kings would have taken the shots, because I figured they were going with a guard or a 3, even though like it's such a loaded backcourt there. They ended up going with Devin Carter. So I was really surprised to see Dalton Knecht drop as far as he did. I think the Lakers got an absolute gift in that, and that's great because they need, at this point, like the Lakers don't want like a developmental guy. Like they're not going to take like a Cody Williams or a Nikola Topic or like any of those guys at this point, because they're in win now mode with LeBron in the last couple of years. So being that they're already taking a guy that's probably not going to help them at all right now, and Bronny, you got to get a guy who can contribute now in Dalton Knecht. So, I mean, I think he has potential to be the best player in the draft, and we'll see just how much freedom he gets at the second unit of the Lakers. I'm really excited to watch.
We could spare the one or two Wizards fan listeners who, along with me, are probably pretty excited about the draft, Javon. But, if I was the Wizards GM, I would have tried to do whatever I could to get Dalton Knecht on my team to start a rebuild. I don't care what his age is. I couldn't believe he fell that far. I would have taken him 2, 3, 4, whatever. The guy falls to 17 to the Lakers. It almost feels like it was meant to be. They're loading up LeBron for one more run. He's only got a couple years left. That guy's just itching to retire and make some fucking crappy movies, right? He's just waiting for it, chomping at the bit. But he wants to play with Bronny for a year, maybe 2, right? We'll see what happens. Dalton Knecht right next to LeBron and Anthony Davis on that team is going to be absolutely electric. It's going to be awesome. He's going to be a great 3. As pertains to Bronny James, over under half a minute, we see him play this season.
I mean, he's going to play some crabs.
You think he's playing right off the rip year 1?
Yeah, they're going to give him Thanasis minutes. He'll come in blowouts, the way the Lakers play and the fact that, they're going to be sitting a bunch of guys for a lot of time, whether it's LeBron, whether it's AD, whether it's whoever it may be. Like, he's going to come in garbage time situations and he's going to see the floor. And, of course, they're going to want to play them together at some point, even if it's in a blowout. So, he's seeing the floor, crabs.
You don't think they want to send him to the G League to have him, actually start for the first time since high school?
They said, Rich Paul said he's like refusing to go to the G League. That's not allowed. So, I mean, he's going to be in on the Lakers squad for the entirety of the season is what they've been saying.
Well, you know what? This pisses me off, the whole situation. Let's stop talking about it. That is absurd. Absolutely ridiculous. Let's talk about some things that actually matter and some players that actually matter and not Bronny James Jr. Let's go into some winners and losers of the NBA draft. Javon, I want to talk about, could be a team, could be a player if you ended up in a good spot. But I want to ask you, are there any winners of this draft right off the rip that you already noticed they got better? And also some teams or players that you're like, I'm not feeling them right now.
Yeah, well, I'm going to gas you up right here because I think the Wizards are a pretty big winner of this draft.
No way.
Yeah, and
sure.
I didn't like the Denny move, which it's not a part of the draft, but it kind of was. I didn't like the Denny move. I didn't really understand that. I just like you thought Kuzma was going to be the one to go, and then they would kind of build around Denny and Bilal. But what they're building right now, I mean, Bub Carrington is a guy that we've talked about plenty when we're talking about college basketball. Great floor general. He's going to be fantastic there. Tyus Jones is gone or is going to be gone, I'm pretty sure. So I'm glad they have somebody to run the helm for a bit there. He's great. I mean, I absolutely love the Keyshawn George, guy that they took. He's a great shooter, can build on athleticism there. It's like, I mean, everybody they got in this draft, I think, was a fantastic fit for that team outside of the fact that they're, all really talented in their own right. So your Wiz are on the way up. I'd be really excited.
Well, it's the only way we can go because we're already in the basement, right? You can't get worse. Yeah. I like what they're doing. I do. They reloaded with a lot of young talent, right? I knew we were going to move Denny at some point on this team-friendly contract. I was hoping it would be next year after he has another good season under his belt, but they don't want to risk it. They'll take what they can get. And they got some pretty good players, in my opinion, in this draft, right? Bub, I'm absolutely stoked about. This kid's going to be a stud, probably coming off the bench, but probably putting up some pretty big minutes and important minutes and probably leading the bench in scoring, to be honest with you, for the Wiz kids. The Miami kid that you were talking about, I'm all in. I think this kid's, really, really good. Keyshawn George, watched him, beat up my Hokies for a couple of years. He could shoot the 3 ball. He's big enough where he could play a little bit of defense as well, and we need some of that. So I'm happy we got him. And then obviously the relatively safe pick with Alex Sarr at 2. I feel great about 2. Now we got him. We got this Tristan Vucevic kid, who's also a new center we got in the draft recently, who actually kind of showed out last year at the end of the season when he played. Having both of them down low at different points, I feel very good about this Wizards team. They're all like, 18, 19, 20 years old. This reminds me a lot of the Thunder, a couple of years ago when they loaded up on draft picks and all this young talent. People are like, all right, I don't know any of these guys, but look where they are right now. I'm not saying we're going to be that good, but that's the kind of team they're trying to build after. And it's better than whatever the heck we were doing before. I'll tell you that much. 100%. Yeah.
I mean, they got 100%. What? They got Sarr dropped to them on a golden platter because he didn't want to go to Atlanta or whatever. And then after that, they took care of business. I think that's a hell of a 3 draft picks in the first round for the Wiz.
Well, enough of the Wiz gas. You're getting me too bricked up. Let's move on before I get too distracted. Let's talk about somebody else who won in this draft. I don't know if it was more Grizzlies. I don't know if it was more Zach Edey. But both of them, I guess you could say, I think are winners in this draft. There's a reason he went top 10, in my opinion. A lot of people had him going 20 plus. His draft position was at 15.5, which I thought was a good sign, after reading all these articles, seeing Zach Edey going 20th, 22nd, whatever. No respect for this guy. The most hated guy in college basketball for no reason. People hate him because he's slow and good. He's ginormous. And he's going to be a stud in that team. He's not going to be expected to be, the number one option right off the rip as he continues to get better. But look at the progression through his college years. Zach Edey is going to be a monster in this league. He's going to be getting fed alley-oops from John Morant for years to come. I'm stoked about that pick, and I'm a Zach Edey fan. I'll tell you what, the Grizzlies got a guy. They got a dog. They got a winner with the right mindset. I'm all in on Edey in the NBA. All the haters, I don't understand it.
Yeah, I'm with Edey. I think they can figure out how to utilize him right, because I know just pure pick and roll with a big is not really Ja's game necessarily. Because he likes to get downhill. He's not really throwing passes into the post either or whatever. But they can figure out a little pocket for him. That would be unstoppable. Like, what are you going to do? So I'm kind of in on it too.
Yeah, sign me up. I think there's a reason he went top 10, folks. I really do. Let's talk about some losers, huh? There's got to be a couple losers out there, right? Who do you think lost? Team, player, whoever it is, whatever it is, let me know.
I'm going to go with the Pistons because, again, not that they had every opportunity in this draft to be we're going to add another franchise-chasing player, but the issue with that team last year, outside of the fact that they're just god-awful, is none of them could shoot. Like, Jaden Ivey was a horrendous three-point shooter. Cade wasn't consistent. Asard Thompson might as well not even try. Like, Jalen Duren's stretched out a little bit, and nothing's really there. So what did they do? They added Ron Holland, who's a talented guy, but he also can't shoot. So like that, they're going to be building bricks in Little Caesars Arena for, I don't know, the next year to come. I thought that was going to be something that they were really focused on addressing in this draft, getting a knockdown shooter, because that's what they did in the middle of last season with, Fontecchio, the guy from the Jazz. So I figured they were kind of trending in that direction. And lo and behold, they don't even think about getting any reliable shooting in the draft. So I thought that was a little bit questionable. So, not to say I'm not really a Ron Holland fan necessarily. It just didn't make sense to me, the fit on that team.
Okay. I could see that. I'm going to hold my opinions on him until I see him play in the league. Big step up. We'll see how it plays out. I want to chirp you about a guy who, you're not going to like this, but I think the Cavaliers might have messed up, Javon. I think they might have messed up. I'm not saying Jalen Tyson is not going to be a good player in the NBA. I think Jalen Tyson has a high ceiling, but also I think he has a low floor, right? I think that's a high risk play, but they've got a solidified group of starters, that are becoming veterans at this point. They can kind of take a risk. What I think they missed out on is a backup center. I really think the Cavs missed out on a backup center here, Javon, with Messi from Baylor. And I know you saw the bad beat the other night during the draft, but they passed him up, and then he goes to the Pelicans right after. They could have had their backup center for the next, half a decade at least, unless they re-signed him. Messi's going to be a stud in this league. They let him, get passed up. What happens when those two big guys they have, who always get hurt, I feel like at the end of the season during the playoffs, get hurt again this upcoming season? You could have had Messi, who's, I think, pro-ready at this point. As soon as he fills in, he's only going to get better. But the guy's got the highest motor out there. I know they say that about every player, but that dude's an absolute machine, athletic beast. He's like a Clint Capella type almost. How do you not take him and put him on your team? He's coming off the bench as a backup center, and he's, not skipping a beat. I think they messed up.
Yeah, I'll say this. I think the Cavs were kind of in a similar spot. Or I thought they needed shooting if they weren't going to get a big. And Jalen Tyson's a good shooter, not a great shooter. He kind of plays pretty similar to Donovan Mitchell, so I would have understood it if he was going to be gone. It seems like he's, staying there now, because I think Atkinson was his pick pretty much at head coach. So I assume he's going to be staying there. It's just there's a lot of ball handlers. It's like a pretty clogged backcourt. They're like the Kings, just they can't shoot. So, yeah, I like Jalen Tyson. I don't really like the fit there either. I feel like the Cavs could have gone a different direction. So you're not wrong.
Okay. All right. I just think they passed up on a beast. Maybe I'm still sour from that bad beat because I had his under 20.5 draft position, but I just don't know how Messi falls that far. And he got steamed. They got me.
Yeah,
They caught me.
they did.
They called me steam chasing. All right. Also, maybe honorable mention for an L could be the Miami Heat getting Khalil Ware. I'm just going to say it.
Yeah, I didn't love that. Again, like same thing. I was dead set on them getting a shooter. Like Khalil Ware
Yeah.
is a shooter. I mean, for a big, so like I've eased up on it a little bit because like the issue is that Bam had to play every minute of every game because if we got any further past that, it was like Thomas Bryant minutes, or we'd have to go super small. So I do, I guess, like that they swung for like a backup big that can give them good minutes and can stretch the floor. At the same time, though, I mean, I'm just scarred from the playoff series that we've seen where it's Jimmy, who's not a great 3-point shooter, and then we have Duncan Robinson not even touching the floor on a contract for no reason now. Tyler Hero is either hurt or having a terrible shooting day. So like we have no options, beyond the arc. It's Jimmy, who's not a 3-point shooter, and Caleb Martin. Like, so I was pretty dead set on that. I don't hate the Khalil Ware pick. I think there's upside there. It's just I don't know, not too sure. But they did go and get Pell Larson in the second round, which I don't mind that. He is a sniper, and I think he gets fit pretty well. So at least they got somebody. I'm not too mad.
Okay. I mean, it's the Heat, right? You got to trust Spoelstra. He probably knows what he's doing, right? All right. Before we move on, I want to ask you, I know we already talked about Dalton Knecht falling. That was a big shock for me. Were there any other big surprises in the NBA draft that you wanted to talk about?
I want to go with the T-Wolves, which the T-Wolves are probably, you could probably add them to the winners list. I love the moves that they made. I kind of figured like they were going to go in some sort of direction of like adding a wing and another like explosive scorer. And, they went and got Rob Dillingham, and then they made the move for Terrence Shannon as well. So like these are guys that I think are going to be electric to watch. And that's exactly what they needed. They needed more dynamic scoring options. They needed something on the wing that was more than just a spot up like they got from Jaden McDaniels, who's a great 3-and-D. Now they have like a more electric scorer out there. So I mean that team is going to be damn good again this year. So I was surprised to see them be as aggressive as they were, and I kind of like that.
I do too. I mean, I think they learned they still probably are a piece or two away from being an NBA title contender, although they got close this year and they have some studs. I think they added the right guys. I mean, I was going to ask you as well, favorite players you wanted to keep an eye on for this upcoming season that just got drafted. You already mentioned the guy I was going to say, Terrence Shannon Jr., right? I mean, talk about a kid who's been through one hell of a year. He was able to deal with all that stuff going on off the court. We're not going to talk about it, but he was able to deal with all that stuff and still put up the season he had and lead Illinois to an Elite Eight appearance against UConn. That is absurd. That kid goes into every, some of the loudest arenas in all of college basketball in his conference, and he's hearing boos. People are saying things to him. He's dealing with all that shit, still putting up the third most points per game in college basketball. And he's got to deal with all that shit. Imagine how great this kid's going to be with a clear mind and NBA coaches this season on a team that's already good. All he's got to do is come off the bench and run with the twos. He'll be the floor general coming off the bench, playing against the backups. This kid is going to thrive. Give me Lou Williams 6-man vibes right here. Terrence Shannon Jr., he could win the award literally this season, his rookie year.
Yeah, he is really good.
He's
I'm
like
interested
that.
to see. I'm interested to see what where they put him on the floor. Like if they're going to run him a little bit with the ones or just give him like full reins of the bench
I
unit.
think he's got to be floor general. I think he's got to be running with the twos.
Yeah, you would think. You would think.
I don't know. I mean, if he could shoot the 3-ball as well, like we know he's going to be able to get to the rack. And when people call him a free throw merchant, that's only going to get, more of a problem. People are only going to bitch about that more in the NBA. Come on. He's going to be getting to the rack all the time, getting free throws. But if he can hit his threes, and he was pretty solid last year, I know his defense took a step back. That's what people were bitching about, but this kid's a stud. He's NBA ready. I think with a clear mind and, a chance to join a team that's already nice, the sky is the limit for Terrence Shannon Jr. He's a stud.
Yeah, I agree.
Absolute stud. All right. Any other NBA draft nugs? Any other comments, concerns before we move on to MLB?
Yeah, I mean, I hate that I'm saying this because both of these guys were unfortunately drafted by the Celtics, but I mean, I think they killed the draft. I said from the beginning, Baylor Shireman. I mean, he has a ceiling as high as I think anybody in the draft with the type of player he is. Big, athletic, elite shooter, elite rebounder for a guy at his size. And what do you know? He falls to the team with probably the most complete roster. Not probably. They had the most complete roster in the NBA, and it wasn't really even close. So they're just getting that much better. So he's going to have an amazing year at the Celtics. And I don't want to say it makes all the other guys, like if they were to lose somebody replaceable, because you pay that cost as an NBA Finals winning team, somebody's probably leaving, whether it's Derek White or any of those guys on the back end. He slots in beautifully. So him, and they made a sneaky pick at the end of the second round that I also thought was really good. Anton Watson.
Yes.
He's going to slot in. I don't know what Horford's doing, if he's like retired or whatever the deal is, but that they're not used to like having athleticism at the Horford spot. It's like he's also a guy who can shoot the three, and now he's super athletic. He can switch against really anybody. So like throughout the playoffs, they were kind of picking on Al Horford and on the pick and roll, and that's where teams were feasting. Like Halliburton, when he was playing, was doing it. Luka was doing it. That was like the one weakness the Celtics had for that entire playoff run, and gone immediately. Like now that they have somebody who can switch and guard pretty much every position, shoot the three, and is athletic, that they can put it like a small ball five or really play at the four if Porzingis is back and healthy on that team, if they really want to at times. Like that is, I think, a sneaky, scary addition for the Celtics.
Yep. Maybe moving Brad Stevens to the exec box, and everyone made fun of him. Everyone made fun of the Celtics for keeping him around. Maybe that was the right move. I'm just going to say, because that guy is making great calls left and right. Another great draft under his belt. The Celtics aren't going anywhere. God damn it. Annoying.
Yeah.
They're too good. I'm bored of it. All right. Before we move, a player I want to shout out here from the second round to keep your guys' eyes on, AJ Mitchell, going to the Thunder, a team that thrives off of youth, a team that's, I feel like they're having the most fun out there. This kid, that's the perfect spot for him to go. Oh my gosh. They're already stacked. He's not going to be starting or having great expectations off the rip. His minutes will be limited, to be honest with you. I wouldn't be shocked if he goes to the G League first for a little bit. Take your time with this kid, but he is a absolute scoring machine. He's a large guard as well. You know, you think a lot of these mid-major guys, they're like tiny as heck when you see them out there. You know, when they get to the NBA from college, they're like, oh my God, I didn't notice how small this kid was from the mid-major. This guy's big. He's 200 pounds, 6'3", 6'4", big guards. I think when he's ready, he's going to really help the Thunder down the line. I think they got another great young stud in the draft in the second round.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm an AJ Mitchell fan. See where he
UCSB Gaucho.
Yeah,
absolute beast. Gaucho ledge. Yep. Played there for a couple of years. Didn't transfer. Got to respect it.
Yeah.
Right? W's. All right. That's enough NBA talk, I think, for about 3 months for me. I don't know about you, but you good on the NBA? All right.
Yeah, probably for a bit.
Let's pivot. Let's talk about the MLB. All right. We haven't done an MLB State of the Union this month, so this will be our June MLB State of the Union. Okay. Can I get it started off with some bitching? I feel like that's the right way to do it, right?
Start bitching.
Can I bitch about the All-Star game voting, Javon? It's atrocious. Yeah. It's absolutely atrocious.
A little bit.
First of all, it's rigged. Second off, you got teams teaming up with other teams from the other, conference or division or whatever and saying, all right, we're in this together. First of all, that's a handout, and that's a weak-ass look. If I was a team not doing that, I'd be making fun of them saying, you need another buddy to help you out and get votes. It's ridiculous. And then I'm looking over at my Nats. Nobody's voting. Nobody cares. I mean, Nats fans, there's not a ton of them. I'm like one of like 4 or 5, okay? There's only so many votes I can lock in throughout the day. I'm busy. But you're expecting the fans to vote these people in? What does that have to do with performance? The All-Star game in the MLB, Javon, used to be the staple of all All-Star games. The best, the cream of the crop. I'd still go as far to say I think it is. Okay, but they're trying to fuck it up with this voting system. Why not have the players vote in who should be the All-Stars? That makes the most sense to me. Give them a survey. Send them an email. Give them a couple weeks to do it. Shit. How hard can it be? Have the players vote them in so that you don't have just players from the most popular teams sending all their players. And so CJ Abrams isn't sitting, 6th in votes for shortstop when he has the second best stats as a shortstop in the entire league. I'm tired of it. It's ridiculous. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, you're preaching to the choir here, Krabs. I'm a fan of a small market team in the Rays. So, like, anytime we have a guy who is having an all-star caliber season, it takes a reserve spot for the most part to get him on there, unless it's like a crazy season. Like Randy's had a few, like Wander, I think, had one. Like, stuff like that. So I mean, it's annoying, especially like being in the AL too, because whenever there's like a good team in the AL, whenever a team in the AL is having like their best season that they've had in a while, it's automatic that everybody is a finalist to start, just like the Orioles' whole team is this year. Not that some of the guys don't deserve it, but some of the guys are a little higher than they should be. So I mean, you might as well just call it the Orioles and Yankees team at this point, because the majority of what we're getting from the AL. And then the NL, of course, is run by the Phillies pretty much at this point. So they're probably all going to start, Phillies and Dodgers. So I don't know. It gets annoying because it's just like, what do you expect from fan voting? Like, what's the goal about it? Is it just to appease who are the biggest fan bases, or is it to actually play a game with the best players?
I don't know, but they're botching the best all-star game in any major sport. They're botching it. They're absolutely botching it. What are the benefits of having a fan-voted all-star game? What are the pros? I would pay money to know them. I can't think of any. It doesn't make any sense. You give extra work to the fans. They get nothing out of it. They're working their butts off getting these votes in. I'm sitting there logging into the fucking MLB site to do my votes every day. And I look at the numbers and I see Abrams continuing to fall lower and lower. I'm like, what am I doing? What am I wasting my time for? There's 7 million Yankees fans who have peas for brains, and they're locking in Aaron Judge and Juan Soto. Not that they don't deserve it. They do. But they're locking in all their guys. We don't stand a chance. All it is the teams who have the biggest fan bases sending their fucking players to the All-Star game instead of the people that actually deserve it. It's disgusting. It sucks. It really sucks.
Yeah. I mean, there's a bunch of guys who are, I guess they just announced the finalists for starting, which I think it's ridiculous. Every year we do this, that we have guys who have missed like half of the season to this point being a finalist to start in the All-Star game, like Trey Turner is. I think he missed over a month, and he's sitting here like Mookie's
played
still
4 games, dude. He's played 4 games.
Mookie and Trey are the finalists for NL shortstop. Mookie's missed, I think, a lot less time than Trey Turner has, but same deal. Like CJ Abrams should probably be in there, and it just gets annoying after a period of time. It's like, what is this even for? We got to get the real all-stars in, and the reserves got to wait for the backups to be announced.
And the one time they did something cool where they did that thing where you could vote on Twitter, final 5 players, whoever gets the most votes gets in. I thought that was another cool way of getting somebody to go to the All-Star game. That's when the Nats, they always ended up in that shit. And I'm grinding, retweeting stuff, locking in. I remember voting for Trey Turner in that, and he won. It was the coolest thing ever. They get rid of that. They get rid of all the cool shit, and they pile on all this stupid fan voting. It's the dumbest system ever, and they're ruining the best All-Star game in sports. It sucks. It's a shame. Typical MLB botch job. I don't know why we're surprised, to be honest with you.
Typical.
Shouldn't be. All right, let's move. You mentioned the Phillies, and they're about to send all their guys to the All-Star game, but they're sending 2 guys to the IL as well today, Javon. Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber both going to the IL. Rumor has it they should be back before the All-Star break. They're not supposed to be serious injuries, but this team is cooking, right? They've got, a pretty good lead in the NL East at this point, on the Braves at least, who are continuing to struggle. Are the Phillies worried at all right now? Is this almost precautionary at this point? What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think they need to hit the panic button or anything, especially because they've built up such a lead to this point. But I guess towards the back end of these IL stints, there are some pretty big games. Like they start off this series, as we're talking, they're starting their series off with the Marlins. Then they go play the Cubs, who are dog shit, so they're streaking. But right after that, I mean, they have a series in Atlanta against the Braves, and then they're hosting the Dodgers. So like those are 2 big series that I assume like Bryce Harper and Schwarber may not be back for, or maybe they'll come back somewhere in the middle part of it. So like, especially that Braves series, if the Braves get to make up some ground, that maybe is a little worrisome. Now, I'm not really a Braves believer at this point. I still think the division is the Phillies, and probably the Phillies by a lot, but it's a scary situation for the Phillies, especially if it ends up being, an issue that lasts, or a couple issues that last a little longer than the IL stint. So I wouldn't be completely kicking my feet up if I'm the Phillies fan.
All right. Well, they might have a couple games against the Nats coming up. Although those might be free wins at this point. God,
yeah, maybe.
You can't buy one. But we do have some good news for the Nationals. We got James Wood en route from the minors to the majors. Finally, they're done manipulating his time, and they're going to let the kid play. Javon, I mean, we found out today on Behind the Lines on the show during the day. And to all the listeners out there, if you don't know what that is, we run a show live every single day at 12:30 p.m. Eastern called Behind the Lines, where we're going over live winners for that day, left and right. All right, we're talking baseball, we're talking PLL right now in the summer, and then when football starts up, obviously that takes precedent. But don't miss out on the Twitch or YouTube at Bookit Sports. We're live every day, 12:30 p.m. Eastern. Okay, but Javon, James Wood getting called up on the middle of BTL today, episode 500. That was an electric moment. All right, are you as high on this kid as I am?
Yeah, I am. I have to be. I'm an Ellie De La Cruz fan at this point, and they're similar players. James Wood definitely has a little more power. Ellie's a little more gifted in the speed area, but I think he can do similar things to what Ellie did to that Reds clubhouse last year when I hopped on and took them to make the playoffs. That ended up just falling just short, but they went on a crazy run, 12-game win streak, and they rode the momentum for a while. The Nats might need that right now. So I can totally see that happening. It's a young team for the most part. You got some vets scattered in there, but the best guys are the young guys in that offense. I could see that offense getting really scary with James Wood in there. Now, the one thing that I've definitely learned from watching the Reds and a lot of the young guys come up, especially Ellie, I mean, there's going to be some very painful points too, especially with strikeouts. And James Wood has plenty of that in his game, but the high highs are going to be electric to watch. So I'm excited for you because I think that's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I think he's about to be a generational player, to be honest with you. I think the Padres fucked up pretty bad. I think this kid's going to be the next left-handed Aaron Judge. I think it's his ceiling. And I think his floor is, Ellie De La Cruz, to be honest with you. I think this kid is the next big thing. I think you're going to see baseball jerseys of him around the world in coming years. I think he's going to be the best player on the Nats for the next decade. He is the future. This kid does not have a flaw, knock on wood. Yeah, his strikeout numbers were up. Well, he fixed that this season. Got him down to about 25%. We can work with that. All right, it was about 35% the year before. He cut down the swing, less nukes. People bitched about the nukes. He started hitting more nukes, more power. It's like anytime someone chirps this kid, he immediately does the opposite the next 2 weeks. He's incredible. 5-tool player, hits left-handed. If he could stay healthy, and he's a local kid too. Like, this is meant to be a gift from the baseball gods after the Soto, Bryce Harper, Trey Turner, Max Scherzer, Steven Strasburg botching that we did with those guys. This is a little reward for the fans who have been faithful. Guys, if you haven't seen or heard this kid, get ready. He debuts on Monday. It's going to be unbelievable, the stuff he does and puts on tape for the rest of the season. He's going to start every day. He's probably going to play left field, I'm assuming. He's probably going to hit third. I'm assuming he fucking better. He's our best player already. Just wait, guys. He's going to be insane. I'm going to have to go on Monday to his debut. I don't care how much the tickets are.
Oh, yeah.
I don't care. I got to go on Monday. Yeah, 100%. All right. That's enough slurping of James Wood and the Nationals, who, by the way, are struggling and about to play your Rays this weekend. So we'll see how that goes. I know we're on the over in the first game for tonight. Let's keep our fingers crossed. We probably could use James Wood, though, for that. That would have probably helped today.
That would have helped quite a bit.
Let's keep moving here. I want to ask you, the Yankees, the O's, these teams are struggling, right? It's like these teams got so hot a couple months ago. At the same time, they were neck and neck, and now they're struggling at the same time. You also got teams like the Royals, who are just absolute moose right now. They can't put a ball in play to save their life. They can't put up any runs. Where is your head at with these three teams who, we've talked about being really good at times this season already, Yankees, O's, Royals? How are we feeling about these squads? Are they coming back? Do we have any hope?
Well, the one that I've called dead for a while now, I'm sticking to that. Nothing's changed. The Royals bats are bad, and
they're toast.
We saw their Linsanity run. I've been trying to preach it from the rooftops for weeks. People still love the Royals. I get it. They're a cool, popular team. You'll see like a game here and there where they drop like 10 runs and they look like the best offense ever, but they've been the bad offense a lot more than they've been the good offense lately. And more than the bad offense, they are one of the worst in the league. Like that Marlins series, which, a hand up, I thought they were going to score some runs in that series against a couple of those pitchers that they faced. Nothing. That was embarrassing. So like Bobby Witt's been great. Everybody else, Salvi's also been great. That's tailed off a little bit recently, but like Michael Garcia is awful. Vinny P is relatively inconsistent. The bottom of that lineup is terrible. So the bats are dead. I think there's no coming back for the Royals offense. The Yankees, though, Yankees and Orioles are a little different. I have more hope for the Orioles. The Yankees worried me a bit, though, because that's kind of the same thing. Like, what worried me about the Yankees at the beginning of the year was the fact that it was Volpe, Judge, Soto, nothing after that. They just happened to be getting 7-inning shutouts from every single one of their pitchers, every single game they played. And they got a home run each from Judge and Soto. The second Judge goes in a slump, they would tail off. Now they're in a period where Soto's in a slump and they're struggling. Volpe's not as good as he was at the beginning of the year. They're struggling, and what do you know? Luis Hill tailed off, has looked terrible his last couple starts. Rodon, same deal. Stroman's been getting hit up a little bit. Garrett Cole came back and got lit up, I think, both starts that he had.
Yeah.
So everything seems to be falling apart. They're 2-9 in their last 11 games, I think the stat is. So I'm a little concerned because, again, like for the Yankees, everything was going perfect at every single level of their team for the first 2 months. Now we see one of those kind of going off one by one and they're falling apart. So I'm a little worried because you have Judge still playing at, an MVP historic level. Nobody's helping him right now. So what's going to happen?
And who knows how long Judge is going to keep that up.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like you gotta anticipate a little slowdown from Judge. So at that point, where do you go? Like Soto's got to heat back up, which he probably will. He's Juan Soto.
Yeah, dude, 100%.
But the rest of the lineup sucks. Like Stanton is not doing anything right now. Verdugo's not doing anything. LeMahieu's not doing anything. Gleyber Torres is one of the worst hitters in the league. I was told that he was supposed to be, MVP level himself this year. He sucks. Who's doing it for the team? I don't know.
They got nobody else. They're too top heavy. They got to add some guys at the deadline. They got to add some Jesse Winkers at the deadline. You know what I mean?
I don't know if they would want a Jesse Winker grabs.
They might take him. We'll give them up for their top 10 prospects, all of them, all 10. That's how good Jesse's been. Yep. You mentioned Luis Hill and his struggles. I know we talked about him and Shota Imanaga on the last pod. We were gassing them up. They have fallen off a little bit here. Are you buying these guys? Are you selling these guys? What are your thoughts on these two star young arms?
I think Luis Gil is going to find kind of a middle ground. I guess Shota's kind of the same, but I'm a little more positive on Luis Gil kind of bouncing back a little bit because, his fastball's been electric. The problem, the last couple starts, is that teams are sitting on that. So, he'll make an adjustment. I feel good about him still long term. Shota worries me, though, because, again, one of the same things that worried me when we talked about him in the start of the season. Now, I certainly didn't think he's going to come out to the start that he did, but I said when the weather started warming up, when the winds start blowing out at Wrigley, he's a big fly ball pitcher who, whenever he's facing a team that's not going to strike out 75 times in a game, he's probably going to struggle. And what do you know? He's done a shit ton more than that against the last couple of teams that he's faced. It's been bad. That start where you gave up 10 against the Mets was crazy. I know they're hitting at lefties at one of the best rates in the league right now and just overall one of the hottest teams in the league, but that was insane to see. So I don't want to say he's just going to turn into Patrick Corbin necessarily, or that's going to be what he is for the rest of the season, but I just don't think he is Cy Young level or really anything near it. I think he's a back end of the rotation pitcher.
Bro, the disrespect on Patrick Corbin in the midst of his greatest run in the last 3 seasons is unwarranted.
Yeah,
it is.
Maybe he'll
You're going to disrespect him after 3 great starts? 3 in a row.
3 great starts in a row.
3 in a row.
Now we get daytime Corbin in the Trop in 2 days. Should be fun.
Yeah, that should be good luck, right? Gosh, boys, daytime. He might have a chance.
Yeah, it is. It's daytime. Daytime against Tosh.
I'm telling you, that's an under of the century. Okay, if you guys are listening to this before the weekend or during the weekend, make sure you lock in that under. Okay, Patty Corbin during the daytime is elite.
Might be air.
Might be air. All right, why don't we get Goots up here and do some MLB Pulse checks? We got some good ones. Gootsy, are you hanging around?
Oh, we're here.
There he is.
Lurking.
I know you're here, excited to talk about the Moose Shit Orioles. Let's get into some of these Pulse checks, huh?
All right, ready? Here we go.
Yes, sir.
The NL wildcard race is between 10 teams, all within 1 to 3 games of each other. Who do you see taking those 3 wildcard spots?
That's just an absolute nails question from Goots, by the way. That's an impossible question where you can't win. Top 3 teams at the end of the year in the NL in this crazy race, Goots. Gosh, man. I feel like the Phillies actually win this division this year, and I feel like they're not a wild card team this year. I think they'll hold on. I do think it'll get weird down the stretch, but I'm going to take the Braves as my first wild card team. I feel like that's a handout, easy one, if it's not the Phillies. I'm going to go with the 2 teams I was very high on a BTL exclusive podcast a couple months ago here before the season started, Javon. I'm going to stick with my guns. I like what I'm seeing out of these 2 squads, the Padres and the Mets. 2 teams I talked about, gassed up before the season that nobody wanted a piece of, nobody believed in after what they did last season, right? You get your stars to all leave, you go all in, you look like a bozo. Nobody wants to back you the next year, except for me, because I realize that there's a human aspect of this game as well, and those guys are playing angry. They're playing pissed off. They're tired of hearing the hate. They're tired of going on their fucking Twitter and seeing everyone call them moose shit. Plain and simple. And if you don't believe that, you don't believe in the human aspect, these guys are people too. We look too much into the X's and O's of these teams and the records and all that stuff, XFIP WAPs, right? All that shit. We forget these are people, and they are pissed off. They're playing like it. These are 2 teams I want to buy into. The Mets and the freaking Padres, man. Just after they swept my Nats, I hate to say it, but I believe in them. I can feel it. They're playing like cohesive baseball teams right now after moose shit starts. I'm buying them still. Braves, Padres, Mets for me.
You know, I got to see something from the Braves these next 2 weeks to start believing it, because, I want to say them falling out of the wild card is not crazy to say right now, because that offense is bad. And, Acuna his losses certainly played a part in it. I guess on the pitching side, like losing Strider is a part of it too. So, they're bringing up Schwellenbach and all these guys to eat innings. It's just – I don't know. I can't say I'm sold on that offense. I don't think anybody could say they're sold on that offense right now. So until I see anything different, that is not an offense that is making the playoffs. So
wow,
they have every piece of talent in the world between Olsen, Riley, Murphy, Albies, whoever you want to call it, to turn it up at some point. And once we get to that point, I will obviously flip my view. But till we get there, I'm out on the Braves right now. And especially being they have one of the toughest schedules in the MLB remaining the rest of the season. So we'll see. They got to pick it up very, very soon. I think if they don't get going before the All-Star break, I'd be really, really nervous if I'm a Braves fan sitting here. So I'm going to stick with the Padres. We talked about them. That's a team that I am certainly sold on, that we were gassing up before the season. I think the pitching's there. I think the offense is starting to get going a little bit too for them, which is huge. I really think there's a possibility that it becomes a logjam with the NL Central, which is kind of one of the worst divisions right now, because we have, I guess the Cardinals are on a run, so they're 2 games over 500 right now. The Reds are sitting 5 games under 500. The Cubs are kind of tough. Not in on the Cubs, but the Reds are still lurking crabs.
Okay.
And I think there is unbiased a shot that they work in here, especially because they've been so not healthy. And now we have Noel Marte coming back in that lineup, giving a little bit of a jolt. They're going to continue getting healthier as the season goes on. The one difference between last year and this year, last year, so reliant on the offense. This year, the offense has taken a step back, obviously, as they've been missing some of the players. But think about the pitching staffs, like the top end, top arm pitching staffs of like a lot of these teams in the race. Because I feel like I can make an argument that Hunter Green, Andrew Abbott, and Nick Lodolo is one of the strongest 3s that you can pick out of that bunch. Could you agree to that?
I think it's stronger than, most people think. I wouldn't say it's the strongest. Like I'd say the Nationals rotation, you could pick 3 guys when they're hot, and they're probably better.
I was going to say, the only one I could say is definitively, like I would be definitely more scared of is the Pirates, who are also lurking.
What about the Padres?
Who are you bringing out for the Padres as your 3?
Cease, Waldron, and Musgrove when he's healthy at the end of the year, when it matters.
You think that scares you more than Hunter Green, Andrew Abbott, and Nick Lodolo?
I think it scares me equally-ish.
I think Cease is a little inconsistent for my liking. I think he's good enough, but That's aside from the point anyway. I think they can rely on their pitching a lot more this year. So it's not like they're going out with Luke Weaver and having to outscore everybody like they did last year. So
yeah, dude.
I think
I mean, I'll give you this.
really still in the running.
I like their pitching situation better than I'd probably say the Pirates, the D-backs, the Giants, the Cubs, who are behind them right now, half a game. You know, the Braves are hurt right now. It's hard to judge. I probably still take the Braves guys right this second. I'm probably making them neck and neck with the Padres. The Cardinals, I mean, I'm probably taking them ahead of the Cardinals too. You're right.
Yeah.
The Nats, I put them pretty equal.
Yeah, that's fair. So I don't know. I want to go with more long shots because I think the NL Central is ridiculous, and not that these are like really long shots in the sense that they're a million games out. Like the Reds are 3.5 games out while they're 5 game under, which is crazy in the first place to say. But I think the Padres are there. I think the Reds are there in a crazy little run at the end of the season. I think the Mets, as much as I love the Mets, this kind of screams they're in the running pretty much all season, and then something, the classic, Mets collapse that is Frank rolling and yelling and screaming. It's going to happen at some points. I wouldn't rule out the D-backs. I'll say that's my third team there.
Yeah, they got to figure it out. They look terrible.
They're kind of iffy right now, yeah. And I think they kind of get it together towards the end of the season as they get healthier too, which, not that I'm rooting for this, but them missing Zach Gallen has been huge. So if he comes back and is somewhat decent, I mean, that's a massive innings eater that's been taking a load off of all the young arms and bullpen they've had to use for the past couple weeks. So we'll see. I think he's definitely due for some Turks, but him just being in the rotation takes a load off of that team. You could tell.
Yeah, dude.
So I think they're still in the running as well. So those are my 3 little dark horse teams, or 2 dark horse teams.
Okay. Well, the Reds are plus 475 to make the playoffs right now. I know it's not as juicy as your future last year, but if you wanted some value, I mean, I feel like $100 wager on that wouldn't be your worst bet after you just gassed them up.
Wouldn't be the worst.
I've seen crazier shit happen. Cough 2019.
Crazier shit. Yeah.
I've seen crazier shit happen. You never know. I agree with your point that the Reds pitching is underrated. I do. And when their bullpen guys are locked, they can be good. They're just never locked at the same time.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
We'll see.
We got a lot of season left. All right. Next. That was a really good question, by the way, Goots. Really good pulse check.
All right, next up. The Mariners hold a 4.5 game lead on the Astros in the AL West. Do the Astros win the division at plus 200?
Oof. I mean, it's a trendy topic right now. You heard SVP talking about it. You heard Bookit with Trent talking about it. They're all in on the Astros. They're buying stock low. They like what they're seeing. I mean, Javon, I can't blame them. The Astros were what? A dozen games under 500 like 3 weeks ago? And they're already back to 500s, which is absurd. I mean, I know they don't have the big name pitchers anymore. Really? They're making do, though. My goodness. Their pitching coach deserves a raise. I mean, Hunter Brown, he's been great recently. Nobody gives a hoot. That guy's figured it out. He went from being the worst pitcher in baseball to being solid. Yeah. Solid for the last couple months. Are you buying this Astros team? I think I am. I mean, plus 200 to win the division. A lot of time left still.
Yeah. Another take that I think the both of us had from the start of the season, and I guess probably the last Pulse Checks pod that we did. But yeah, I think they're still right in the mix of everything. As much as I like the Mariners, the offense isn't consistent enough for me, and the Astros have made up a lot more ground than I think we both thought at this point in the season. So the fact they're already here, and the pitching staff is at least doing enough. Hunter Brown's been fantastic. I know guys like Arrighetti have gotten blown up at spots, but they've also come out and thrown 7 hit innings of 1-run ball at times too in the need. I don't know what they're building there as far as in the pitching staff, but it's been working. And the lineup isn't even healthy yet. People forget, Kyle Tucker is still missing from this lineup. Jordan hasn't been nearly as good as they'd hoped. Altuve went cold for a little bit, and he's kind of inconsistent now. So, all this, and they're not even playing their best ball. They're not sitting far back from the Mariners, who I would argue they're playing damn near their best ball. At least their pitching staff is. So that division also sucks. Can't go without saying. The Rangers are terrible. I mean, the A's are back to the A's. The Angels are right there with them. Might be worse. So
that division is the worst to watch
Worst.
That's got to be. Like, when those teams are playing each other, I don't even want to bet them. I don't even want to cap them. Those games stink. Those teams stink. I'm with you. Right now, Mariners are minus 200 to win the division. Astros plus 200. The Rangers, I mean, come on, man. Come on with the Rangers.
Terrible.
Plus 1200.
Rangers are terrible.
We'll get to it.
The thing with them is, like,
we'll get to it.
I just can't do with them. The Rangers, man.
They're terrible, dudes. What a joke. We'll talk about them a little bit more here in a second. I mean, the Angels and A's, they're out of it, but it's got to be the Astros plus 200. It almost looks too easy at plus chicken at this point, but the Mariners have a little bit of a lead right now. The Mariners are playing really good baseball right now, so I would recommend the plus 200 on the Astros. I mean, look, at the end of the day, baseball, winning organizations figure it out. The Astros, they always figure it out. They're doing it right now in front of our eyes, and the Mariners always fold. It's probably going to happen again. We're witnessing it right now, the beginning of it. All right, we'll see how long the Mariners can hold on. Are they going to be able to rely on these young arms who are starting to lock in right now? But some of the guys are starting to get a little hurt. Can they hold on for the end of the year? We're not even halfway there yet. I'm saying no, and I'm buying the Astros at plus 200. Yep.
Crabs, there's just a big move in the NBA that could clear up some space for the Wizards.
What happened?
DeJounte Murray just got traded to the Pelicans.
Huh.
Just crazy. Can't say I saw that coming, but they
Yvonne bomb on stream.
Yeah, live bomb on the pod. But
on the pod.
He just got traded from the Hawks to the Pels, so it's another team that is missing a little bit of firepower down there at the bottom of the playoffs or the play-in. Wizards can sneak in.
I also saw we're trying to do whatever we can to bring back Landry Shamet, which I don't know why they're trying so much.
Yeah, I don't know why.
But I guess he's a big glue guy. They're really trying to bring him back.
I mean,
that could be the difference, Javon.
As long as they get rid of Tyus Jones, man.
That's the plan.
I would assume that's as good as gone, and he's not going to re-sign with them. I hope so.
No, it sucks that we didn't really get anything out of him because he had a great year. Like, I wouldn't mind a side and trade, and they're probably debating that right now. Like, should we sign him to a one-year deal and move him or something to a contender because he had a great season, like career highs in points and assists. But it's got to be Jordan Poole at the one. If not, he has no chance of succeeding, and then that trade was useless. Get Tyus out of here. He's not the future. Jordan Poole has a chance to be. Give him the point. It's not even a debate. Give him the point.
Might have to.
All right. Let's keep moving and grooving here. Goots, let's go to pulse check number 3.
Here we go. With the O's and Yankees struggling, who's going to win the AL East?
I knew there was an O's question coming from you, Goots. Should have seen it coming. Although I literally wrote this one myself and pinned it on.
Kind of a bad question.
No, that's a good question. They are struggling. And who's going to win the AL East? I'm looking at the odds right now. Yankees minus 185, Orioles plus 160. And then there's 100 feet of shit. And then we got the Red Sox plus 6,000, Rays plus 25,000. Javon, don't let them get hot. It might be too late. And the Toronto Blue Jays plus 50,000. They are a joke. I want to take this 10 seconds of your life right now to tell you guys that the Toronto Blue Jays are an absolute clown show. The players on their team don't give a shit. Bo Bichette is playing bad on purpose so he can get traded. He doesn't care. He's not locked. These guys are the worst. What an example of a moose shit organization in baseball. The worst. I got no faith in them. The Rays, though? Why don't you talk about the Rays here for a second before we get to the O's and the Yanks?
Rays are surging. It's probably not going to be enough to actually contend to winning the division, but I think they'll get close. Yeah. So I don't know if you knew this, but the GM, Eric Neander, set a date basically to decide whether they're going to buy or sell at the trade deadline, and that date is July 1st. So there's a reason, I think, why they've been playing such good ball recently. So they're probably going to do a little bit of buying and selling in the next month here. But yeah, they're playing good ball. The Red Sox are also one of the hottest teams in the league right now. Can't let them go by the wayside either. They're probably going to do a little bit of the same thing. I don't think they expected to be buyers, coming into the season at the trade deadline, but the position they're in, I think they're 7 games back, and again, the Orioles and Yankees are both really struggling right now. I think now could be the time to strike for the Red Sox. So as much as I do think they're going to come down to earth with the way they're playing a little bit, it's hard to ignore. We talked about this team, at the start of the season as well, when you're going over, win totals and futures and everything like that. That lineup, when it's healthy, is really damn good with Jarren Duran, who sneaky like MVP candidate numbers right now. You have Devers, you have Tyler O'Neill. Like, you have a lot of guys that are doing the job right now. The starting pitching has been just fine. So I would not be shocked at all if we get to, early August and this is pretty close to like a three-way race.
I'm with you. I'll tell you how that's going to play out, though, because I've already seen it, if you're ready to hear it. Here's how the AL East is going to play out. All right? Here's what we got. The Orioles are going to cash and win the AL East to plus 160. All right? They're going to win the division. They're going to end strong. The Yankees are going to sputter out late. They're going to make it as a wild card. And then when we get into the playoffs, the Yankees are going to win a playoff series, and the Orioles are going to lose, but win a couple games. Maybe even take a game 7. I could see that. Right? Maybe they get a couple under their belt. I know they got swept last year, but this year I think it'll be different. I think they'll get close. And then next year going forward is when we can really trust that team to win in the postseason. But that's how it's going to play out. The Yankees will blow it. The O's will win at plus 160. Lock in your futures now to win the AL East. And then it'll flip-flop once they get into the playoffs. And I hate to say it coming from me, but I do think the Yankees will have enough offensive firepower at the top of that lineup when the team is healthy as well. And when these pitchers start figuring their shit out. I mean, they were the best pitchers in baseball for 2 months. Now they've been the worst pitchers in baseball for 2 months. They're going to average out and be okay towards the end of the season, if I had to imagine. Okay. Yeah. I think they win a series in the playoffs, but they're not going to win the AL East.
Kind of with you. It's tough. It's tough to look at the Yankees right now until they figure it out.
Yep. Goots, thoughts on that comment? Thoughts on those angles?
Probably the best answer you've ever had, Grabs.
Good. Thank you. I hope they made you happy. All right, let's wrap this puppy up. We got one more pulse check.
We do.
Good.
The Rangers are plus 650 to make the playoffs. Will we see them in the postseason?
First off, that's absurd to hear that. The defending World Series champions, the Rangers, who went out and bought everybody, just like the Mets did, just like the Padres did that one year. It didn't work, although it worked for the Rangers last season. But look at them now. They're plus 650 to make the playoffs at this point. We're not even halfway through the season. That is absolute disrespect, and probably for good reason, because Javon, we know that the World Series champion the year prior always gets more line respect for that next season, right? Typically they're more square, right? We don't want to back those teams. Other people do because they've seen them just win, right? But we know it's a new year. It's pretty clear to me that this Rangers team last year went on a legacy Jeremy Lin, Nats 2019 World Series run, bless their hearts. They pulled it off. They finally won a World Series for the first time in their franchise history, right? But they're done. They're dead. This Rangers team, they're not making the playoffs. There's a reason they're plus 650 to make the playoffs. And with the Astros and the Mariners ahead of them, there's no fucking chance.
Yeah, not even them. Just like looking at the wild card, I guess you could say as a whole, like it's going to be one of the Yankees and Orioles, of course. You would assume at the top spot as of right now. The Twins are one of the hottest teams in baseball, too. Can't let them go through this whole pod without getting mentioned because they're playing fantastic baseball right now. And it's kind of with their bats. Usually it's with the Twins and their pitching, and they can't really score. They're hitting out of their mind. Carlos Correa is on another planet right now. So, yeah, can't let them go without getting mentioned. But, a lot of the teams above them, I just trust to kind of make a run. Astros, Rays, Red Sox, Royals will probably fall off. But everybody else is trending upwards. So, Rangers suck. That's just the way to put it. And I live and I talk with a bunch of Rangers fans, and they all give the same excuse. It's that, they're dealing with a bunch of injuries, blah, blah, blah. The injuries are to Scherzer, DeGrom, whatever. The injuries are not the reason why Adolis Garcia is hitting 211 or the reason why Marcus Semien is hitting 244 or Seager
nobody's talking about it.
257. Nobody's talking about just how bad those guys have been. Their best hitter by like a wide margin has been Josh Smith, who's hitting almost 300. Nobody else is even close. Seager's the
Nate Lau. Say his name. Nate Lau's doing his job. Say his name.
Yeah, he's all right. I mean, he's hitting 256. He's been good enough in like
for
RBI
him, that's
spots
like 300.
for them. Yeah, I mean, it's not bad. It's just like when Josh Smith and Nate Lowe are your only like consistent sets of offense, what are you going to do? Like
you're going to lose.
I mean, when your big three is not producing, like that's not going to work. It's just not. And last year they got contributions from like MVP level play from Seager. Adolis was on another level. Semien was, goated the entire year. And then the entire lineup did everything for them to support them. So like this year that ain't happening. And like the pitching, the bullpen's been bad. It was bad last season, got good in their little insanity run, but everything, they're looking like the team that we kind of expected early last season. It's just a little World Series hangover. There was a Linsanity run. That's what it is.
Yep. They're toast. Do not bet them to make the playoffs, please, guys. You're better off betting the Nats. You get a better chance. All right, great questions, Goots. I'm going to do a little sneak segment here to close this out. This wasn't even on the outline, making this up on the fly, but this pod's going so well. We're absolutely crushing through this thing. I kind of want to do something new here, something fun. I'm going to declare a couple of these teams dead. I'm going to let you know who's already dead from the AL and the NL. All right, I'm going to go over this really quick. It's not going to take long. Trust me. The Chicago White Sox, dead. Oakland Athletics, deceased. Good riddance, by the way. Fuck them and fuck their ownership. The Angels, dead. Tigers, dead. No chance. They might be worse than the Royals with their hitting slumps and struggles. It's atrocious. The Rangers, the World Series champions, they're dead. Like we just talked about, they're toast. The Toronto Blue Jays, do I even need to say it? Deceased, dead. Dead as a stump of a fucking tree. Toast. Okay? The Rays and the Astros and the Red Sox and the Royals and the Twins and the Yankees, you guys are safe for now in the AL. Okay, you're safe for now. Let's go to the NL real quick. Rockies, Marlins, Cubs. You don't even deserve your own sentence. You're just dead. Okay, you three stink. The Cubs offense, people think they're good. They got big names. They had one good season last year like the Rangers did. Jeremy Lin type season. These guys stink. Bellinger, he might be ripping the bong again. I don't know what it is, but he cannot hit a fucking ball to save his life. Dansby Swanson. Has anybody even heard Dansby Swanson's name one time this season? No. This team stinks. They're dead. Sorry, Josh, you listening? Our producer. He's a Cubs fan. They're dead. Okay. A lot of teams still alive, though, in the NL. This is when it gets kind of tricky. This is when it gets kind of fun, Javon, because a lot of teams still in the hunt. But I got to call out a couple more who are dead. I'm going to say it right now. The Pirates, they have too much hype. They're playing pretty solid right now. They got these young arms. They're good. Jared Jones, right? They got Paul Skeens. I don't care. They're dead. They're not going to have a chance. They're not going to have the offense. I'm declaring it. They're dead. The Giants, although I'm betting on them tonight with Logan Webb on the bump. Let me know how I do after you guys check the scores for Friday night. They're dead. That team stinks. I don't believe in them. They're not going to be good enough to do anything. I'll let the other teams chill for a little bit. I'll let your backup Reds. I'll let my Nats. I'll let the D-backs, but they're on thin ice because they kind of stink. Nice. They are on thin ice, but I'll let them chill for now. They might make it a week or two. We'll give them that. The Mets, the Cardinals, the Padres, the Braves, you guys are safe, okay? I need to mention them, my Nats. I am keeping them in there, but that's maybe a little bit of a homer in me. We'll see. If this segment was a week later, it might not be the same answer. This is a big week for my Nats. James Wood getting called up. We'll see how it plays out. All right, Javon, I know you feel good about your Rays. Any final comments about them before we close this puppy?
No, they're playing good ball. The pitchers are starting to get it together, so we'll see. It's also a pretty big stretch for them from now until the All-Star break. So if they can keep it up, I would be very scared if you're the rest of the AL wild card.
Sure. I agree. Don't let the Reds get hot. Don't let the Rays get hot. Don't let the Nats get hot. It might be too late, folks. It might be too late. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed the NBA draft recap and MLB State of the Union. I know I did. That was a good one for about an hour. We crushed that puppy. If you guys want more content, if you want to know where can we watch more of your guys' shows, your content, your streams, go to Bookit Sports on YouTube and Twitch. You can find out when all of our shows are then, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, live during the day, every day during the week on Behind the Lines. If you need winners, we got you covered on there. All right, we'll be back here again next month after the All-Star game. We'll see how it goes. Javon, I'll be down there boots on ground for the All-Star game here in a couple weeks. Any chance my guy CJ Abrams makes it, or is he toast?
There's got to be a chance because every team has to have a rep. Perhaps he may not start, but he's got to be the Nats rep. You'd think, right?
It's probably Kyle Finnegan, to be honest with you, man.
Ooh,
it's probably Finney.
Could be.
Yep. Let's see how many more saves Finney blows.
It's probably got to be Abrams because I don't know if Mookie's going to be back by then either. So they're going to be short.
They might need him.
The shortstop. Yeah, they might need him.
He better be there. Well, if you guys want to see some more content with us, boots on ground at the All-Star Game, Home Run Derby, check it out at Bookit Sports on Instagram, on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, and check out our live streams, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, every single weekday. All right, we appreciate you guys. Drop a like, all right, bookmark the podcast. If you liked it, let us know on Twitter. I know I did. Right now, our teams are playing good ball. We'll see how long that lasts. Thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you on the next pod. We'll be safe. Peace.
Cool.